Hi everyone, thanks for coming. Our positive quote for the video is, "Optimism is a happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you." Big thanks to Mary Lou Retton for that. Let's get started with the stories. Am I the unreasonable one for buying my son clothes from Goodwill because my ex never buys them? I have a 12-year-old son. I have 40% custody off. I pay $1,100 in child support. It's a ridiculous amount, but my ex underreported her income. I was unable to fight it. The problem is that I'm basically paying for his clothes for both households. My ex refuses to buy proper fitting clothes, and since the agreement was that clothes must be shared between homes, I'm ending up buying the bulk of it. Because of my messy financial situation, my wife and I made the conscious decision to have separate finances. She pays for her child, I pay for mine, and we both pay for our shared daughter, who is 5. Since my wife gets child support herself as well as a nice ex, my stepson gets very nice clothes. I can't really afford to buy brand new clothes with the support I'm paying. In order to not make my son feel left out after he complained, I've just been buying all his clothes from Goodwill. If I go at the right time, I can find really nice looking clothes for very little money. Recently, my son found out I was buying the clothes from Goodwill and the crap has hit the fan. I didn't think he would care about where his clothes came from, but he does. And now, he's making up stories about feeling itchy after wearing the clothes. And my ex is making up lies about us sending bed bugs to her home. I always made sure the clothes were properly washed. They look brand new, but I've thrown them all away because my ex threatened to call child services. Was I the a-hole? AITA. But I bet your ex is coaching him to say that, which is parental alienation. Lawyer up, take the majority of custody and make her pay the child support. Not the unreasonable one. Tell her to call CPS and explain why she doesn't provide proper clothes to her kids. She's trying to blame being a terrible mom on you. Am I the unreasonable one for not taking my daughter's anxiety seriously? I, 46 years old male, have a daughter, 19 years old female, who has anxiety. She was fine both socially and mentally before, but around age 12-13 something happened to her. I'm guessing it's her starting high school that made her start having it, because she'd skip class constantly and fake being sick all the time. This made her social life crumble and me and her argue all the time. She currently still lives with us, doesn't have any friends or a job. She mostly spends time on the computer. She gets panic attacks from needing to things like make a phone call, or answer the door. Most of this anxiety seems to come her not wanting to grow up and being scared of the world. I was first sympathetic, but it's gotten to the point where she's a freeloader who doesn't try to do anything. I don't hate her, but I wish she'd move out so me and my wife could have some time where we don't focus all of our time and attention on her anymore, but on each other. Yesterday, she went to a job interview and she was understandably nervous. I was too when I got my first job, and I tried to make her know she can do it. I was really happy she decided to try and become independent, and hoped this would to a chain of events making us free from her. It went great, until she called crying and said she apparently was too scared to continue the interview and ran away when she said to the interviewer she just needed to go to the bathroom. This was the last straw for me. I yelled at her saying it's time to grow up and she can't let her fears control her, and she has to get a job or I'm kicking her out of the house. I was tired of letting her rule the household, just because her mind a little screwed up. She got really upset when she came home, and wouldn't talk to me. My wife, who coddles her quite a lot, got really mad at me, saying to me that she needs time. Am I the unreasonable one? You're the unreasonable one. You sound like an awful parent who doesn't love their kid, and you're seriously hoping that Reddit will validate and say anything other than AITA? First of all, you clearly have no idea what caused your daughter to switch from outgoing to an anxiety-crippled person at age 12 to 13. You automatically dismiss it as something petty like starting school, but it could have been triggered by something serious such as sexual assault or severe bullying. Rather than get to the bottom of it and being supportive, you have dismissed her throughout her teenage years as being a pathetic inconvenience and a freeloader. No wonder she hasn't confided in you or gotten any better. Secondly, you have clearly done no research on anxiety and depression or looked up the symptoms. These mental health issues can cause actual physical symptoms which are scary and difficult to cope with, such as palpitations, a tight feeling in the chest of not being able to breathe, panic attacks, nausea, stress headaches, profuse perspiration, exhaustion. Yet rather than try to understand what she is going through by researching it, or providing your daughter with a safe space, you berate her, call her lazy and threaten to kick her out. Third, it would seem that because you dismiss everything she's going through that you haven't bothered to get your daughter help. Therapy and counseling can help with the underlying issues that have caused your daughter to withdraw and feel this way, and can also teach coping mechanisms so that she can gradually get better at coping with her symptoms. A lot of people with her condition also take medication. You won't get your daughter help, yet you expect her to get better. She can't just flick a switch and suddenly be okay. If she had broken her back in a car accident, would you expect her to suddenly start walking tomorrow and berate her if she couldn't? Or would you understand that she needs months of physical therapy and assistance? Recovering from any type of illness, mental or physical, requires treatment and support. Lastly, 19 is a very young age at which to withdraw support from your kid. In case you hadn't noticed, the world sucks and has done for young people for a number of years. Rental prices, lower wages for under 21s, and the high cost of living screw young people big time. And that was even before the pandemic, and so most young people continue to live at home until some point between 25 to 30. The economy in most countries is collapsing because of COVID and unemployment is high, but yet you expect your daughter to do what a lot of people can't and get a job, whilst also battling a mental health issue. I just can't get over how many ways AITA. If you don't love her or can't bring yourself to act like you do, maybe you would be doing her a favor by cutting her off. You're the unreasonable one. I get that it's frustrating, but the way you talk about it is probably just making the situation worse. Putting panic attacks in quotation marks like that makes it seem as though you don't think they're real, and saying that her mind is screwed up is just a horrible thing to say. Those things probably make her anxiety even worse. Have you not tried finding out where this anxiety might be coming from? Or offered to help her with getting some therapy? Anxiety and depression are real. They aren't just people being silly and immature. They often have biological causes. If your daughter had a physical illness, would you treat her this way? Would you say, yeah, my daughter was meant to have a job interview, but she had a broken leg and couldn't go. I shouted at her to just grow up and get over her broken leg? Probably not, but it's the same thing. Also, I can see that you said she has tried therapy, but how many times? Has she tried different therapists? Different treatments work for different people. Am I the unreasonable one for refusing to talk to my mom after she gave my stepsister my wedding fund? My stepsister was going to get married this summer, but due to COVID she had to postpone. Unfortunately, she ended up losing a lot of her deposits and now her budget is less than half of what it used to be. She also has to buy a new dress/bridesmaids outfits because she's now decided to have a winter wedding instead. I am also engaged, but we're still in the early stages of planning and recently decided to trying to figure out what our potential budget would look like. My mom and stepdad have saved wedding funds for each of us, which are $10,000 each. This is money we've always known we'd receive for our weddings, and my siblings have already all received theirs. I was FaceTiming my mom and she asked me about the wedding planning, and I mentioned that my fiance and I had opened a separate bank account for our wedding funds. I asked her if she could directly transfer the wedding fund into it when she was free, and she started acting weird and avoided the question and changed the subject. I got upset and asked her again, and she told me that they couldn't help with the wedding. I asked her what she meant, and she admitted my stepdad had given the money to my stepsister. I asked her why he would do that, and she mentioned how my stepsister had lost so much of her original budget due to the pandemic and she would have to dramatically downsize her wedding. She came to them and begged to have my wedding fund, and my stepdad agreed, as my stepsister and her fiance both work low-paying jobs and wouldn't be able to save the money up themselves in time. My stepdad's justification is that my fiance comes from a filthy rich, his words, family, and that his family could make up the difference for what they would no longer be contributing. Apparently, he made a nasty joke about how fiance's dad was going to throw money at our wedding anyways and that maybe they should ask him to pay for stepsisters too. I was upset and so I ended the call. My mom has been calling me non-stop since and has even asked my other sister to call me and tell me to answer her calls. When I told my sister what happened, she was angry, but not surprised because my stepdad has done similar things in the past, e.g. given part of my college fund to this same stepsister because she wasted her monthly allowance partying. My mom and stepdad have also sent me texts telling I have no right to be upset over what they chose to do with their money. My stepdad even said that since I'm so petty he's glad he never gave me a cent for my wedding. The more I calm down, I'm starting to wonder if I am being a childish a-hole. It's not like I've booked anything yet and now we'll have to change plans. My dad also contributed to my sister's wedding and I'm sure he'll offer to do the same for me. But then the other part of me wonders if had it been my stepbrother's wedding fund, would my stepdad be so quick to give it to my stepsister? Am I the unreasonable one? Not the unreasonable one. It sucks that your sister's wedding didn't work out as planned, but it's not fair to punish you to make it even. You were promised $10K towards your wedding and the gift is being stolen from you in the same way your college fund was stolen. She doesn't have to buy new dresses. She could wait until next summer or ask her wedding party to find a mutual color in their closets. She's wasting money that she shouldn't have in the first place. Not the unreasonable one. Those jokes your stepdad was making are disgusting, and you're absolutely right that he definitely wouldn't have given his son's fund to his daughter. Let's say your future in-laws decide not to contribute to your wedding, then what? Your mom is in off for not telling your stepdad no when he gave your fund away. That's partly her money too. Also, they never should have told you about the wedding fund if they didn't plan to follow through. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my husband he is going to be a crap girl dad? My husband and I are having some marital issues, and he has been spending a lot of time with his sister and brother-in-law. We have 2 daughters under 3, so he does come by to see them, and for the record he is a good dad. His sister is 9 months pregnant, so at the miserable and uncomfortable stage. And when he was over the other day, he was joking with the neighbor about how he has been messing with his pregnant sister. She mostly just wears leggings and tank tops, so him and brother-in-law went out and bought the same stuff in smaller sizes to make her think she was gaining even more weight. He also got her a milkshake that she had been craving and put the straw in a little thing of ketchup. He did have a backup milkshake, but he said she almost threw up. Then he and brother-in-law poured water on the front of her pants while she was sleeping and tried to convince her she had gone into labor. I think it's screwed up to do that stuff to a pregnant woman and shows a lack of respect for women in general. I told him that he's going to be a lousy girl dad if he keeps that up. My sister-in-law texted me that I'm ridiculous and she kept going into fake labor and scaring her husband, so they were getting back at her. I guess she thought I was criticizing her marriage because she said I should focus on my own family because her marriage is great. I feel kind of bad because he is a good dad. You are the unreasonable one. If you were concerned they were going too far or whatever, talking to your sister-in-law and asking her if she wanted you to say anything would have been appropriate. Telling someone they are going to be a bad parent is not cool. I guess if sister-in-law was okay with it, then nah. I agree that it seems rude to do to a pregnant lady, but some people have different tolerances for teasing. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my pregnant sister honestly why I don't want any biological children of my own? Both me, 24 years old female, and my sister, 28 years old female, have inherited the same disorder from our father. We didn't get it very severely. We have a 50-50 chance of passing it on to any biological children we may have. Only requires one parent to pass it on to future kids. We have had family members who inherited it so severely they passed away young, while others have lived long lives. She's pregnant now, and is very happy. She's always wanted kids of her own. We were talking about the baby, and she asks me when/if I wanted kids. I said yes, I do want kids, but I would most likely adopt. She asks me why. Now, this is where I probably went wrong. I was confused, and I replied I don't want to take the risk. She looks offended. I point out to her we've discussed this topic before, and my stance on this has always remained the same. She starts to get mad. Yeah, when you were like 20. I thought you would have matured by then. There's nothing wrong with someone wanting biological kids. Grow up. I'm just staring at her at this point. I never said that there was anything wrong with someone wanting bio kids. I just don't want any of my own. Yeah, that didn't go over well, at all. Sister is angry, since her kid also runs the risk, and she says, then what are you trying to say? I'm a bad person for wanting to take the chance that my kid won't get our disorder? No, I'm trying to say that I don't want bio kids. That has nothing to do with you. I'm not going to judge you for wanting bio children, so stop reading into my reasons for not wanting them. She leaves, still very angry. I'm torn. Some people say she shouldn't have pushed, or gotten offended when I answered honestly, especially since we've had this conversation before. Others say that I should have just lied to her, and that she's taking out her anger on me because of pregnancy hormones and I was insensitive or something. Oh, she's definitely taking out her fear and anger on you. I'm not sure what you can do about it, other than decide to give her a ton of grace, if you have it in you. That was a super irritating trap she set for you. She knew you didn't plan to have kids, she knew why, and she pressed to pick a fight. Not the unreasonable one. Until looks like she is projecting. Am I the unreasonable one for siding with my husband's strict punishment over my daughter, his stepdaughter? I, 37 years old female, am the mother of 3 daughters. Annie, 16 years old female, Lily, 9 years old female, and Grace, 7 years old female. Annie's father was my ex. He is in the picture, but Annie prefers living with me for many personal reasons, and Lily and Grace are my husband's children. Annie and my husband put up with each other, but never really had a strong relationship. Lily has always been really sensitive, both emotionally and sensory. She can't stand lots of sounds like rain, and will cry if it doesn't stop immediately. She doesn't like lots of touch sensations as well, the main one of these being sand. She has a teddy bear which she holds to comfort her during these times of sensory hardship. Annie and Lily have been butting heads lately. Annie thinks we're coddling Lily and she's too old to be carrying a teddy bear everywhere. Whenever Lily has the bear, Annie calls her a baby and make baby noises which upset Lily. I've tried to stop her. I even took her phone away for a day when she did it last week, but to no avail. While I was at work today, my husband had a very important call to make or break clients that we told the girls he was not to be interrupted from. Grace was also feeling ill and had to take a nap as she had practically no sleep. Despite all this, Annie decided it would be funny to douse Lily's teddy bear in sand in order to try and wean her off. It started to rain, and Lily started looking for her teddy bear to comfort her, only to pick it up and find that it was completely covered in sand. Lily really freaked out and had a full-blown meltdown, waking up Grace, who also got upset, and my husband had to come off his conference call to deal with all the fallout. My husband believed it was a really cruel thing to do, especially as we think that Lily has autism, not diagnosed yet, but she has lots of symptoms, especially the ones for high-functioning girls, and Annie knows this. Annie also knew not to disturb my husband from the calls, and did something that was very likely to cause a scene. Because of this, he decided to ground Annie for a week. Now, Annie's exam results come out this week, and she was planning on having a get-together with some friends. She can't anymore. He also confiscated all devices until Thursday. It's Monday evening here. When I came home and saw the state of post-meltdown Lily and sleep-deprived Grace, I agreed. Annie started crying and saying it was unfair, and I was siding with my new, non-B-star daughters, and new man. The dude's the father of my kids and has been my partner for 12 years. Over my B-star daughter, I disagreed, and told her that I love her and her sisters the same. But she broke all the rules that we had given her, and could have potentially damaged my husband's career. Luckily for him, the clients were really understanding, but it could have easily gone ugly. Now my ex is harassing me and saying that she's gone through so much already, and I'm a bad mother for putting Lily over Annie. Am I the unreasonable one? A week's grounding is harsh. Man, Annie needs to meet my parents. Not the unreasonable one. She has been being cruel. That's unacceptable. Hard. Not the unreasonable one. My husband believed it was a really cruel thing to do, especially as we think that Lily has autism. Yes it was. He decided to ground Annie for a week. Sounds like a fairly standard punishment for intentional sibling torture. She was planning on having a get-together with some friends. She can't anymore. Play lousy games, win lousy prizes. You're not choosing one daughter over the other. You're punishing one daughter for being intentionally cruel and bullying the other. Would she not want her sisters punished if they doused her phone in water or otherwise assaulted her property? Stay strong. With respect, your daughter seems like she may have unresolved issues surrounding her half-siblings and her sense of security in this blended family. Therapy might be beneficial, if only to mediate an open dialogue about what she's feeling and why she's choosing to act in such a manner. Best of luck, and remember, stay strong. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.